Hey guys, welcome to Rising Stars. Today I have an amazing guest here on our show, but first, I'm your interim host, Sean Watt. I'm taking over for Michael for the next few episodes. Our production is sponsored by Urban Eats MTL. And without further ado, folks, I'd like to present to you Zach Michaels, or Michael. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, Sean.
Yeah?
Nice to be here.
How are things?
I'm doing phenomenal. Things are very well. Things are just up and up. And I'm first of all, I'm very honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I kind of want to dive in because rumor has it that you booked a theater part on the day of. Can you go into that? What happened there?
Well, that was something that was really surprising. It was a very challenging moment. So I get a call very early in the morning on a Saturday morning, 9 o'clock.
Wow.
Very surprising call saying, listen, Zach, would you be interested in doing some theater work? So very casual, I said, yes, sure. Just let me know when would be good, and then I'll check my availabilities, and then we'll look over what it sort of entails into what's going into doing theater.
Yeah.
They said, well, your availabilities, what we're asking for is, are you available this afternoon?
No.
So Sean, I said, okay, what do you mean by this afternoon? They said, okay, well, listen, we're starting rehearsals at like 10:30 to be on stage by 12 o'clock so we can do sort of a dress rehearsal for tonight's show.
That's no time to prepare whatsoever, and especially when it comes to theater.
Yeah.
So how did you do it?
So then I said, okay, look, well, let's start by, okay, in terms of script, I guess it's a one or two liner, maybe, like a paragraph, maybe a monologue.
Okay.
So I said, okay, yeah, sure, I got this. With all the training that we do, all the workshops and the training and sort of the memory work and all that. I said, okay, yeah, sure, let's do. They say, no, it's a 14-page script. I said, okay, look, I'm good. But
not that good.
Maybe not that good, okay. So they said, basically what you could do is you can sort of be on book throughout the whole play.
So as in you go behind the curtain there when you're not on stage and then you can kind of revise your lines and go hop back on, or how did that work?
I wish that was the case, Sean. So I said, okay, as in script in hand? And they said, yes, script in hand.
So you're going to rehearse your lines and then you take out a little notebook and then you'll continue your, your performance.
Right, something around that nature, Sean.
Okay.
So I said, well, I'm going to have script in hand because, I mean, there's all the text going back and forth. You can improvise up to a certain point.
As long as you're following the same guideline
Right.
of the story, it shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, how about we do this? Let me just give me a little bit of a synopsis. Tell me who my character is. Mm-hmm. I looked this over, and I spoke to production. I spoke to the producer, and I spoke to the director. And
Yeah.
I said, okay, how about if you're open to recommendations? I just read off my phone. And reading off your phone in terms of, this is a person who's nonchalant, who's more interested in his lifestyle as a gambler, not to give away the whole play, but as a gambler, always being enthralled and intrigued by what's going on online with the medias, with the betting.
Okay, so he's always on the phone anyway.
So I'm always on the phone. So I said, okay, that works. We can integrate that. What do you think? And that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
So they gave me the script, and here I am following through script, and then just sort of picking up on the major lines, and then with that elaborating.
For something like that, though, you don't even have enough time to gain that chemistry with your castmates, or let alone even rehearsals, right? You have time to go home, warm up your voice, do a few, stretches, this and that, try to memorize all those lines, and then go to it.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's insane.
It was actually, so I get the script at 9:06.
Very specific,
I get the script at 9:06, and so I'm just reading through this, and I said, okay, look, now I got the gist of who I am. The whole background work. So I did all that, as a trained actor, and you know this as well, Sean. We do all the background stuff first before sort of jumping in, and
you find your own backstory and you make it connect to yourself, right? That's how you strengthen the character.
Correct.
As soon as you can personalize it,
right,
you're off to the races, right? And you put on your best performance, you put your best foot forward, and you pray.
Exactly, and all while doing the director and the author justice to the character.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So so I got all that done, and I did all my prep work, and I said, okay, so look, let's do this. And more importantly, why I did say yes to this was because it took me out of my comfort zone, Sean.
Yeah.
And what do I mean? I said, okay, first of all, I'm not necessarily theater trained.
But you have a voice for it, just naturally.
Well, thank you.
Your voice is real, just powerful in general without you even trying. So that would project really well when it comes to theater, I'd imagine, and voiceover.
It does.
Yeah.
But that sort of, it comes, as you say, it's not something that's, you don't try to develop it. It sort of happens, and then you, it becomes more accentuated when you're in this kind of a position.
Yeah.
So that being said, was with all that prep work that I did, let me just sort of be me. I'm more than enough. I can relate to the character because the storyline was something that I was able to connect with as the persona of who I was representing. Being of Middle Eastern background.
Okay, I thought you were Italian. You're giving me a lot of Italian vibes. You're pointing with the fingers and
with all that handwork.
I'm like, he's got to be Italian, but no, you're Egyptian, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
that is correct. Absolutely. Yeah. So that whole Middle Eastern background, I do have a little bit of a flavor or a little bit of an influence of that mentality of the bubble wrap your kids. Make sure they're okay. Take care of family. I mean, you're the protector. So you don't want to deviate too much from that whole cultural thing. And
of course.
So that related a lot to the character that I was playing.
Beautiful. So it's just all lined up and it worked out for you by the sounds of it, right?
Yeah. So to get comments, and I do say without any pretentiousness, it's just positive feedback where I got that some of the comments were, we didn't even notice that you were acting. I mean, acting the part, I should say.
You were being the character.
I was just being me, and I just sort of got into that frame of mind, and I went along with it.
Wow, amazing. What a story, huh? That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I also heard another very interesting story, and it seems like this is sort of your trend. So you auditioned for a production through Ionis, John, right?
Yes.
You auditioned for one part, but you ended up getting another part. Tell us, let's dive into that story. What happened there?
If we're talking about, because I did a few things for Ionis.
Yeah.
Which part are we?
So I heard there was a rumor that you auditioned for one part and then you ended up booking a different part completely.
I'm just trying to remember.
Maybe it's one of the most recent ones.
Because actually, this was maybe one of the first projects.
Probably.
See, there we go. We get flashbacks. It does happen, right?
It does.
So yes, actually, it was the first time that I've ever auditioned for Ionis.
Okay. So what happened? So you auditioned. You came in. What was it? A short film? Feature.
It was a short film.
Okay.
And I go in for a certain part.
Do you remember what the part was?
Yes, it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was a Middle Eastern part, and I think it was a dad role.
How fitting. It's perfect.
It was.
Yeah.
And so we went over a couple of lines. It was a live audition. And at one point, Ionis just says, okay, stop. Okay, I mean, within...
As soon as they say stop prematurely, you're like, what did I do wrong? Was it a bad audition, right? Because I've been in those situations where it's like, oh no, I must have messed up, right? Or
absolutely right, John. But me being of, the PMA, the positive mental attitude, I said, okay, it's either something went completely wrong and I was completely off point, or I did so well that, okay, that's enough. We've seen enough.
You don't need to see more. Yeah, exactly. There's one way or another, right? You can either PMS about it or you can PMA about it. So you chose PMA.
That's a good way to put it. So that being said was, so we stop and Johannes sort of in his very pensive and very
it's always worrisome when there's a director who's just sitting there and they're just staring, but they're not saying anything, and you're like,
which was a good sign because I was still in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
I was still in the room. Yeah. So I said, okay, thank you. He goes, no, where are you going? I said, I just thank you for your time. And he says, no, what I would like you to do, and he hands me over the same script, but circled with a different character, a different part.
What was his character?
And if I remember correctly, it was more of a villainish role as opposed of being on the sort
like
of the
typical 9-to-5 dad with the hair combed over and howdy partner.
Yeah. So I said, okay, let's go with that. He says, listen, take your time, read this over, come back and see me within 5 minutes.
Cold read, perfect.
Cold read. So what I did was I sort of put all the background knowledge of all the workshops, and they said one thing that actually came to mind, Sean, was just do whatever you do during the audition or improvise if you have to, but remember your first and your last lines.
Oh, easy then. Okay, I would just really remember the first and last and let everything else fill itself out.
I said, okay, so that's what I did. So I concentrated on that first line and that last line, and then in the whole wild being was, it was definitely a cold read, but really picking at certain keywords.
Okay.
Just to get the whole gist of what you want to communicate, what message you want to get across.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So.
And that was it. So I was honored at that point to have been offered the role.
And being a villain.
Being a villain on the spot.
That's great.
So we finished the audition, and Johannes checked for me. He says, what are your availabilities like? And we booked.
Awesome. That's such a great story as well. And I've actually been through something very similar to that.
Yeah, tell me about that.
It was through MSOPA when I just first started acting, and I went to go audition for like a pilot episode through Ramiz El Haj, and it was through MSOPA casting. Joe So was there. This is back when it was in-person auditions, right? So I went to go audition for a role to be the business guy, business associate, and I ended up getting put out of the room, given another script, audition for this character. Okay, perfect. I did it, and I ended up booking the part too. So it was like I went in for one role and I got the other.
Absolutely. And you never know.
It was so weird, and it was like, oh my God, what is going on with this? I think I bombed it, this and that. You start overthinking because I didn't hear back for, solid 10 days, 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, oh, you got the part. Wow, what? Oh my God. And it's such a weird feeling too, right?
It's and you know what? It's an integral part of the industry. It's part of what we do.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're in the audition room at the outset is already a success in itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, this is like right when I was like, just a baby fish coming out through acting. I didn't even know what cold reading was, right? They gave me a script and they're like, try to memorize this in 5 minutes. I'm like, and at that time, I was still struggling with how to find my way to memorize lines and this and that. So, it was a lot of pressure on my end too. I was like, oh my God, I'm so focused on the lines, this and that, right?
Yeah.
But then I had months after to get into the character because they wanted to shoot, X amount of months after. So, just ended up working out really well, and it was beautiful.
Well, that's it reminds me a little bit of you bring something up that was very interesting, where I auditioned 3 times for 2 times.
Okay.
For 2 separate roles on on an NBC Universal
Nice.
TV series called Blood and Treasure.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I think they filmed it here, right?
Yeah, they filmed here. So I auditioned for 2 separate roles. And going into the audition room, I said, okay, I'm just going to do what I have to do. And both parts I did not get, only to get a phone call 2 weeks later when you say there's a time lapse that goes through, that my agent calls me up and says, Zach, I said, yes. They said, are you available on this date and this date? And I said, okay, well, let me just check my schedule. And I said, yes, I could be, right? I mean, even though I wasn't, but, you know,
you'll make it happen.
I'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And so I said, please let me know what's up. They said, okay, can you audition for this part at this date? And I had already booked something that, not within the industry, but, you know, like life happens. And So I said, unfortunately, I can't, but I can come in the following day. They said, okay, let me just check with production. 5 minutes later, I get the call. They said, you don't even need to audition. We see that we see what kind of work you can put out there.
Wow.
We have a role for you, and offered me the role without having to audition for that role.
That is amazing.
On Blood and Treasure.
That is really cool.
Yeah, so
that's your talent speaks for itself, right? In that moment, and it was just the right part, the right time, all the hard work. It all comes together.
You're
right?
absolutely right. And when you showcase what you got, right? Because this is not about what I can get out of production. It's what you can offer to production. So I put it out there, and they see what your work is like.
Well, there's a lot of people who are extremely nervous to be in front of a casting director, but really those casting directors are in your corner. The reason why you're
100%.
getting put up for an audition is because they're in your corner and they're like, you know what, I believe that this actor might have the chance to book the role. So when they're calling you in, they're technically like in your corner as your friend. So you should never be intimidated by a casting director. You go in, hey, how are you, act professional, this and that. You do your part, and you hope for the best in terms of what the producer and the production wants in their vision, right?
You're absolutely right, Sean, because they want you to succeed.
That's it. And a lot of people have this mentality that they're shaking like dogs in there, you know, and they're all nervous and they're sweating, and there's nothing to be sweaty about. They're literally just another human being. It's like you and I talking right now.
Absolutely.
Right? That's what it comes down to. It's like, okay, you're just another human being doing your job. They're doing their job to try to find the best talent for that role.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily the most talented. They're looking for the person that's going to be right for the job. That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. And like I said, they want you to succeed because it just makes their job a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know, so for all the nervous people that are out there auditioning, to be honest with you, they want to see that hit that you first came in with. They want to see the best that comes out of you, and because it makes their job a lot more that much easier. Saying, okay, listen, we found the right person. This is the right person for it. Let's go with this. You know.
I want to take it back a little bit. So you're saying that you are Egyptian. Are you born and raised in Montreal, or did you come from Egypt and you made your way over? How did that come to be?
Born and raised in Montreal.
Okay.
Right. My parents came in 1964, Egyptian background. Okay, they're both Egyptian. 1964, they came in here, and I was born in 64, so I'm 60 now. And July 13th, the star was born.
Wow. Yeah, congrats. There you go, star.
Star.
So you're born and raised in Montreal.
Yeah.
How did you get into acting? Was it something that sort of acting found you, or you found acting, or a little bit of both? How did that come to be? I mean, because one generally doesn't choose to pursue the arts unless it's just something in them, right? And that's sort of how it came to be with me. I mean, my mother told me before I could walk, I was already rehearsing lines. All the Star Wars and Land Before Times movies, this and that, right? So it was like foreshadowing what eventually I would pursue in life.
Right.
It took me a little bit, but eventually I pursued it.
Right.
So was that sort of the same situation, or how did you get into it?
Maybe not with Star Wars, but to parallel your story, me, it was
Don't say
more,
Star Trek.
No.
Don't say Star Trek, otherwise this interview's cut.
So it's that, and if you want to go even before that, it was the Gilligan's Island and the older shows and the Honeymooners and the Flintstones.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was
okay.
that was.
There's just something captivating about it, right? Like the arts it's born within you. So when you start seeing like these fascinating productions that you find intriguing, you get that itch. You want to start, rehearsing the lines. You want to start mimicking and this and
Right.
that. And it's either it's in you or it's not. And I find that with a lot of actors, they'll pursue it, just end up quitting. Like, do you remember the very first class that we took at MSOPA?
Oh my goodness! Yes,
You and I
do.
think are the last ones standing out of that entire class. Everyone else in that class, I've had them on Facebook, Instagram. They've all quit. They've all chosen to get real jobs, which is the responsible choice, of course. But it shows you that eventually they just start dropping like flies over time. I mean, and
yeah.
so from the ones from I'm speaking specifically from the very first class that you and I were in together. Out of all of us, you and I were the only ones that are left from that class.
Right. Oh, well,
From that specific
I would've-
class. Other classes, obviously, people are pursuing whatever. But
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's about the persistence. It's how badly you want it.
Hard work,
It's the
love.
work that has to.
right.
You have to have that passion for it.
And if they don't, that's why they start dropping.
Right.
And
So to come back to like how I got into this, I did not choose this profession. I mean, this happened. Sort of to preface a little bit of this, and not to elaborate too much on the story, is
you can elaborate all you like. We got
Okay.
time. Yeah. I'll cut you if we can't do
yeah,
it. But
please do so.
no,
Okay.
no. Go ahead.
Being of my Egyptian origin, I almost had to wear the robes of what my parents sort of had prepared for me.
Yeah.
In terms of, okay, we're leaving. We left a country to come to the sort of land of opportunity, come to
Yeah.
Canada, and one thing led to another, meaning not knowing the language. Just the mother tongue was Arabic at home. Not knowing the languages, not knowing that sort of that whole culture shock for my parents that happened. I was a little bit growing up and going into kindergarten, going through my primary schools. It was almost being accosted by some of my colleagues at school. Okay, or my whole social, only because my pronunciation wasn't there, the language barriers and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the reason I prefaced that is my way of communicating or my way of connecting to people was through whether it was comedy, whether it was trying to emulate the others.
Yep.
And sort of
I'm a big fan of that imitation and this and that. Yeah,
imitation
of course.
and try to emulate or imitate or sort of try to fit in through humor or through relating to someone. If for whatever reason, it could be whether it's laughter, whether it's in being emotional, and sort of I would sort of try to go to that sort of level.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So whatever standard that they have in terms of righteousness, the whole beauty of being able to relate to someone, that's what spoke to me. And that's how I started to make friends, if you will, or acquaintances.
Yeah, just sort of being you, I guess.
Being me.
Yeah.
And that being said is I wanted to use that as first of all, to connect. And then when I saw this on TV, when I was starting to be introduced to that, the 12-inch black and white screen.
Yeah, with the rabbit ears.
With the rabbit ear
Yeah.
antennas. I started taking a liking to that, and I had told my parents, I want to be that. That's what I want to be, without knowing what TV really is.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do. So as time grew on, I told my parents, okay, so this is what I want to do as a living. Now, saying that to immigrants coming in from Egypt, it was all that same stigma of, no, our son is going to be a white collar, whether it's a doctor, lawyer, you know that.
Yeah,
that
I know
whole-
the typical. Yeah. Okay.
So my son going into the arts, that's not going to happen. So even though I applied for art school and acting classes, and it was a no. But the moment where I grew a backbone,
Yep.
and I said, okay, no, it's not something I you know what I'll think of doing. It's what I do. It's what I do.
Yeah.
So unbeknownst to my parents, I started taking my classes, of which I've excelled and put a lot of emphasis on, as opposed to all the regular standard, all the maths and the sciences and
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And that's what I started to develop. And
Okay.
as time went on, I started working with casting agencies, to do a lot of the background work and then a lot of the
Okay.
extra work.
Yeah, that's how we all get into it. At you all, for most part, right?
Right. And that's where I said, okay, this is where I'm happy, Sean. And they would call me for a 6 o'clock call time. I'd be there before the grips people.
Nice.
And
Just
I would
excited.
Leave, just excited. Yeah, I mean, and I would leave after everybody else is left set. And then, okay, is it already over?
I know, it goes by so fast, right? I'm like you. I'm like a kid in a candy store. As soon as I get there, I'm looking at the whole entire production process.
Absolutely.
The gaffs, the grips, directors, this and that. I'm just in the moment. I'm loving it, right? I'm soaking it all in, and I always want to try to help everybody, even though it's not my job, but I want to just to be a part of the process, that movie making, the film magic. There's something very spectacular about it, and you can't explain it unless you truly love it and you have a passion for it, right?
To feel it.
So, exactly.
It's in you, and you exude it when you speak about it. I mean, here we are speaking about very passionate about it.
I know.
And you're a passionate kind of guy, right?
Yeah,
So,
of course. Yeah, it's contagious. I can feel it.
There you go.
The twinkle in the eyes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's to me.
That's the key.
Yeah.
It is.
And when you enjoy doing what you're doing, it's not work, as some people may say. Yeah, I'm working on set. Well, for me, it's not working on set.
I'm playing.
I'm enjoying this moment.
Yeah.
I'm savoring every moment, whether you're doing background work or whether you're a principal, whether you're a co-star on certain roles. You just enjoying the moment. And doing your thing and being happy doing it.
And it's always a shame, again, it just goes by so quick. Any of those moments that, sometimes I'm on set for 15, 16 hours, and just for it to all come to an end when it's one of those big productions, when you have a speaking role, it's kind of heartbreaking. When I get home, it takes me a couple hours to calm down, and, I'm just daydreaming still about that whole experience that I just had on set. I'm tired mentally, and I think for acting, it's not physically tolling, it's more mentally tolling, believe it or not, right? Because you're putting out so much exertion on emotions and your lines and this and that. So I find, in my personal experience, emotionally, I'm just exhausted when I get home, because I'm actually an introvert. So I'm an introvert extrovert.
Right.
So when I'm out in public, you'd think, there's no way you're an introvert. Well, yeah, I am, because as soon as I get home, I board up everything, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I plug in my social battery and let that battery go up, right? But in public, no, I'm like just this little social butterfly going out, and
as a difference in personalities, which I find quite interesting that you're saying this. See, it just upscales as we continue. So even after the day is over of shooting, I mean, I take that with me. I take that home. And I just sorry,
it's okay.
Excuse me. And I say, wait a minute, did that just happen? I mean, and then I say, well, that moment was very surreal. And then you start reliving that whole day.
Oh yeah.
And then you say, oh yeah, well, and then you just sort of...
And you sort of ride that wave of highness, so to speak, for like a week or two, and then it fades away, and you're like, okay, well, I want another one, right? It's very euphoric, almost.
It is.
It is, but in the best way possible.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about some...
Tell me.
special skills? Can you do accents, or is there anything in particular? Like, do you know how to do hatchet throwing, or cool skills like this?
Yeah. Besides, well, actually, just to allude back to what my parents said. We want you to be a doctor or a lawyer and an accountant. So not too long ago, Sean, I called up my mom and I told her, Mom, you know what? Your dream for me to be, like a doctor or a lawyer or an actor. She goes, yeah. I told her, well, you know what? I'm a doctor.
Wow.
She goes, what do you mean? I told her, and last month I was a lawyer. And
okay, I see. Okay.
And then I was, an accountant.
Yeah, and you got to play, yeah.
So I got to play that, which
Yeah.
was, and she was very confused at the beginning. And I told
That's
her,
so cruel.
Okay, so I told her, yeah, so now I'm all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything that you wanted me to be,
I've become that.
I've become that.
Temporarily, but I still was, right?
Right. So in terms of skills, that's those are the skills that I've developed.
Yeah.
Accents, I like to do a little bit of accents once in a while. I like to dabble with that.
Okay, so can you do anything in particular? Is there a particular accent that's your go-to when you're at home by yourself and you start talking to yourself? Because we know actors, we all talk to ourselves. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah, that mirror could be our best friend. At one point.
Or the shadow or whatever's there.
Accents. Let's start with the easy ones.
Yeah.
Something that I can relate to very well.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk to you like this, it's very Middle Eastern, very Egyptian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Channeling your family.
Yeah. And this is how I speak when I have to do, for example, like a very Arabic accent on the television.
You're casted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then,
Okay.
if you want me, I do a little bit Israeli accent.
Okay, yeah, I see the difference. Yeah.
You see the difference? It's my name is Zach.
It's like sort of French and Arabic, sort of. It's a mixture almost, right?
You're right, Sean. You're right. I'm talking this way, and I can maybe eventually somebody is going to see to this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like a superstar on the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then maybe we can impress a little bit of Johannes.
Yeah.
And then we could, you know what? I'm.
Oh, that's actually pretty good already. You don't have to say anymore.
What you're talking about, this is the way I'm speaking.
Yeah. It's very laid back,
Very
and it's a
laid
certain
back,
neutral.
And
Yeah.
the movies,
Yeah.
very. So if you want to do a little bit of Greek, we could do that, and then the Italian that comes out.
It's already with the finger pointing. And, hey.
Hey. But then we could do like either the very sort of New York,
Like the Brooklyn accent,
or the St. Leonard, our local.
Yeah.
Hey, my Sean, what are you talking about? Me,
Yeah, I know, the tough guy, kind of,
like
the wise guy accent.
the wise guy,
right?
but
Yeah.
wants to act smart because, as far as I'm confirmed, bro, as far as I'm confirmed, that's the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you can be that very serious, like the, yeah.
I like, there's a mobster movie, my mom, she loves it. It's with Sonny. I don't know if you know it. It's the guy who plays it, I forget what his name is. Robert De Niro's in the movie.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about? He's like, I don't want that guy staring at my dice like that.
Right.
Oh, no, I don't want that face. Would you quit breathing on me already, right? What's that movie? It's iconic. And he made a play after, but
Why am I getting
that's
it
how he
wrong?
had his breakthrough.
Hold on.
I know. We both know it.
Wait,
it's with Sonny.
Yes.
Right? He's always iconic, and he's
yes.
pointing his fingers like this.
And not only
like,
that,
whoa, you got a
not
problem
very
with me?
expressive,
Yeah.
but expressive in the nonverbal.
Yeah.
And that's what is.
And here's the wise guy in
why are you doing this, Sean?
it's killing me as well. 'Cause
You
I
know where I'm not going to like this?
What?
Is where I'm going to remember when we leave the room.
I know, or as soon as it cuts, it's going to be like, oh, that's
wait
the
a minute,
production.
wait, let's go back.
Oh,
Let's
no.
sort of add that back in.
I keep
Anyway, it'll
going
come
to,
up, but
yeah.
no, I get it, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
so-
okay, I'll ask you one more question.
Yeah,
and
go
we're
ahead.
gonna wrap it up.
Sure.
Okay, if I was a director producer and I gave you a script
Yes.
and this was a perfect world, what would you want that script to be? What would that role be? It could be anything from a past production, present production, or possibly a future production. And if I gave you this paper and I said, here, sign the contract, sign your soul away to this role, what would you choose? Which character? Could be anything in cinema history. Cinema, series, whatever you prefer.
I'm not too sure about the originality. If I'm thinking about this, is sort of something along the lines of having to replay my childhood, but in terms of the Zach of now, speaking to the 13 or 12-year-old Zach,
So it's like a biopic.
almost a biopic, and because that speaks to me in a sense of what would you, Zach, now have told your son or your grandchild? What would you, or the Zach of 12 years old?
Yeah.
What would you tell him that you know today that you didn't back then?
Yeah.
And a lot of it would be something very gut felt in terms of listen to your intuition, listen to your passion, follow what your path is. Because you mentioned something very important, Sean. You said, did you choose acting or did acting choose you? And it's not something that I said, look, I want to be this. This is just sort of innately became me. It was me. So that character would be speaking to that child, but also in the optics of relaying a message.
Okay. Yeah, no, I see that.
Right,
Yeah, of course.
so-
It's sort of like a guidance sort of thing where
A
it's
guidance,
like...
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And again, I say so very humbly.
Yeah.
And if that can get through and that speaks to our audience right now, Sean, as we speak, well, that is something that I'd say, you know what, Sean, where do we sign?
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Well, here's your paper. You can sign that. That's it, folks.
Have your
Thank you.
Have your people speak to my people, and then see the condition.
Okay, here. I'll call your agent. All right.
Okay.
All right, folks. That's it for this episode of Rising Stars. What an amazing interview. Again, this production sponsored by Urban Eats MTL. What a pleasure to have you on the show.
Sean,
I hope
the
to see
pleasure
you
was all
again
mine.
soon, all right?
Absolutely.
Take care.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you for being such a great host.
I'm your interim host, Sean Watt. I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Take care, guys.